Hello and welcome to this learning module. Today we will provide an overview of the anatomy and physiology of the endocrine, lymphatic, and immune systems. This video is intended to supplement any readings or coursework assigned by your instructor. The objectives for this video include discussing the anatomy and physiology of the endocrine system, including the endocrine and exocrine glands, the chemistry of hormones, regulation of hormone secretion, and the roles of hormones in various processes in the body. Additionally, you will be better able to discuss the anatomy and physiology of the lymphatic system and the immune system. The endocrine system is a complex collection of hormone-producing glands that control the basic body functions such as metabolism, growth, and sexual development. Much like the nervous system, the endocrine system is responsible for communication and control of biological processes. While the nervous system uses electrochemical impulses to regulate muscles and glands quickly and for short durations, the endocrine system provides slower but longer duration using chemicals called hormones that are secreted into the blood that elicit their effect on target cells in the body. This image illustrates the locations of primary glands throughout the body. There are two types of glands in the body, endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Endocrine glands, such as the thyroid and adrenal glands, release hormones directly into the bloodstream, regulating various physiological processes and maintaining homeostasis. These hormones act on target organs and cells throughout the body to control different processes. Exocrine glands release their contents through a duct that leads to the epithelial surface. Mucus, sweat, saliva, and breast milk are all examples of secretions from exocrine glands. Exocrine gland secretions play essential roles in digestion, temperature regulation, and various other body functions by acting at specific localized sites. To summarize, endocrine glands maintain systemic control through hormones. Exocrine glands primarily operate locally through secretions delivered via ducts. Hormones operate within positive or negative feedback systems that maintain homeostasis for the body. Positive feedback loops are characterized by the release of additional hormones in response to an original hormone release. In the image on the left, we see the positive feedback loop that happens during childbirth. The initial release of oxytocin signals uterine contractions that pushes the fetus towards the cervix. This signals the pituitary gland to release more oxytocin, which causes more frequent and intense contractions until childbirth is complete. Hormone reactions that suppress further hormone release are called negative feedback loops. Endocrine regulation through negative feedback loops is the most important method to maintain homeostasis. The image on the right illustrates the negative feedback loop involved with glucose regulation by the pancreas. When the blood glucose level elevates, insulin is released, which allows glucose to enter the cells to be used to create energy. If the blood glucose level drops, the pancreas secretes glucagon that stimulates glycogen release from the liver to raise the blood sugar level. The hypothalamus is located deep in the cerebrum and secretes regulatory hormones that direct the pituitary gland to increase or decrease its production of hormones. The pituitary gland secretes hormones that control the secretions of other endocrine glands, as illustrated in the table seen here. The large gland at the base of the neck is the thyroid gland, which secretes T3 and T4 hormones to regulate metabolism of carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. The adrenal glands are located on the superior aspect of each kidney. The outer adrenal cortex surrounds the inner medulla, and each region secretes hormones. The adrenal cortex secretes steroid hormones, including aldosterone that increases calcium levels, and cortisol and cortisone that regulate blood glucose levels. The adrenal medulla secretes epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are key components in the body's sympathetic response. The pancreas is located posterior to the bottom half of the stomach and is primarily an exocrine gland secreting a variety of digestive enzymes. A small portion of the pancreas has an endocrine function that secretes insulin and glucagon, which also regulate blood glucose levels. The male and female gonads secrete hormones that stimulate the development of gender-specific sex characteristics. This is just an overview of the common glands and hormones. There are many more that regulate various processes throughout the body. The lymphatic system is the system of vessels, ducts, nodes, and organs that carries excess fluids to the bloodstream and filters pathogens from the blood. Lymph is liquid formed from the interstitial fluid that flows through the lymphatic vessels and lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are structures that filter lymph and are interspersed along the course of the lymph vessels. Additionally, the lymphatic system includes lymphoid organs such as the thymus and spleen that filter the body's fluids, removing harmful particles before they can cause damage to the body. The image here illustrates these key components. The lymphatic system has two primary functions. Number one, remove excess fluids from the tissues of the body and recover fluid needed to maintain the proper water balance. And number two, production and circulation of lymphocytes that provide a significant portion of the body's immune function. Our blood pressure causes fluid leakage from the capillaries, which leads to the accumulation of fluid in the interstitial space, or the space between individual cells in the tissue. An estimated 20 liters of plasma is released into the interstitial space each day due to capillary filtration. Approximately 17 liters is reabsorbed directly by the blood vessels, while the lymphatic system drains the remaining 3 liters of fluid and empties it back into the venous side of the vascular system. Lymph is collected from tissue and circulates through lymph vessels to lymph nodes and organs including the spleen, thymus, and tonsils, where there are a large collection of white blood cells. Lymph travels slowly through these organs, ensuring that the lymphocytes can react to any foreign organisms in the lymph before returning it to the blood. The immune system is the body's overall defense system that maintains two levels of defense. Number one, the innate immune system, which is relatively rapid but nonspecific and therefore not always effective. And number two, the adaptive immune response, which is slower but is highly specific and effective at attacking a wide variety of pathogens. The innate immune system is present from birth, providing immediate, nonspecific protection against a wide range of pathogens. It includes physical barriers like the skin and mucous membranes, as well as cellular components that can recognize common features of pathogens through pattern recognition receptors. While the innate immune responses may be ineffective at completely controlling pathogen growth, they slow pathogen growth and allow time for the adaptive immune response to strengthen. The adaptive immune response relies on lymphocytes, which have antigen receptors that are activated when they encounter specific antigens. Once activated, the adaptive immune response produces antibodies that can specifically target and neutralize a specific antigen. The key feature of the adaptive immune system is its ability to generate immunological memory. After the initial encounter with a pathogen, the immune system remembers the pathogen, allowing for a faster and more effective response upon subsequent exposures. This memory is the basis for vaccines, which stimulates the adaptive immune system into providing long-lasting protection against specific diseases. This image illustrates some of the innate and adaptive immune responses available in the nasal and oral cavities. Inflammation is the hallmark of the innate immune response. Inflammation is an attempt to restore tissue homeostasis by removing microbes, toxins, or debris at the site of injury and prepare the site for repair. The four characteristics of the inflammatory response include redness, heat, swelling, and pain. Inflammation can be initiated by infection or tissue damage. This image illustrates the stages of the inflammatory response. Once injury or infection happens, the contents released by the injured cells stimulate the release of mast cell contents, including histamine, leukotrienes, and prostaglandins. These chemicals cause vasodilation and increased capillary permeability near the injury or infection site. This allows movement of fluid into the interstitial space. The combination of increased blood flow and increased capillary permeability leads to increased numbers of leukocytes and additional mediators at the site. Leukocytes remove microbes and debris so tissue repair can begin. Adaptive immunity can be described as either active or passive. Active immunity refers to the activation of an individual's own adaptive immune defenses, whereas passive immunity refers to the transfer of adaptive immune defenses from another individual or animal. Active and passive immunity can be subdivided based upon whether they were acquired naturally or artificially. This slide illustrates and describes the four types of adaptive immunity. There are three different classifications of hormones: protein and peptide hormones, steroid hormones, and amine hormones. Protein and peptide hormones are derived from multiple amino acids that link to form an amino acid chain. Examples of protein hormones include insulin and growth hormone. An example of a peptide hormone is antidiuretic hormone. Steroid hormones are derived from cholesterol, which is a lipid. The reproductive hormones estrogen and testosterone are steroid hormones, as are aldosterone and cortisol, which are secreted from the adrenal cortex. Amine hormones are derived from the modification of amino acids. These include the catecholamines epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are secreted by the adrenal medulla, while dopamine is secreted by the hypothalamus. This brings us to the end of this presentation. Here we see the learning objectives for this module. Can you demonstrate each of these objectives? If not, please consider going back to review any content that you struggled with. Thanks for taking the time to watch this learning module.